Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday. It's time to talk about some new releases for this Friday, March 24th. There's about 450 albums being released. I got 20 on my list for today, though. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you go check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for our merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music weekly playlist that we put together, and also the Patreon page. So make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. Like I said in the intro, there's about 450 albums coming out this week. I'm going to talk about 20 on the show today, which is a lot. But if there's something that's coming out that I don't talk about, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to. I'll also say that if any of these are unavailable or if you're unable to get these in your local brick and mortar stores, I'll put links down below. You'll be able to get all these online. There are a couple of really big releases coming out this week. The first one, this is Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Moon. First released back in 1973. This is the big 50th anniversary box set that was announced a couple months back. It was their 8th studio album. It's going to run you about $300 online. If you look around, I've seen it as low as like $215 to $220. So there are deals if you really want to pick up a copy of this. It's got a bunch of stuff that's included in it. It has the newly remastered album on vinyl and CD. It also has Blu-ray and DVD mixes. It comes with a brand new Atmos mix, which has never been available before. It also comes with a live album from '74 that was included in the immersion box set that came out a few years back. It has a 160-page book. Also has a 76-page music book, all in this really cool looking packaging. I think this is going to be a really good box set if you're looking forward to it. If you don't want to buy just the box set, the live album is available separately. It's going to run you about $33 online. And this has artwork that is the original line drawing artwork for The Dark Side of the Moon when the album was released back in '73. It looks really cool. I've got the immersion box set. It is a really good show. $33 is not a bad price, I think, for that live album. There are a couple of new albums coming out this week. The first one is Fall Out Boy, So Much for Stardust. It's their 8th studio album. It's going to run you about $23 online. There's multiple variants of this available. I actually pre-ordered one of the variants from their website. Looks pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. There's been record stores around me that have had listening parties for this album over the last week or so. I've kind of stayed away from it. I tried not to listen to any of it. I want to wait till I have it on vinyl to actually listen to the album. I'm not the biggest Fall Out Boy fan, but I saw them live, was it probably a year or so back now, and I was really impressed with them. My oldest son, Jack, is a big fan, but so it's definitely an album I'm looking forward to checking out when I get it. Then you also got Lana Del Rey, Did You Know There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard? It's her 9th studio album. There's also multiple variants of this album available. I actually think there's also a variant cover that I think I saw listed online. It's going to run you about $32, so it's not a bad price. To be honest, I really haven't listened to much of her music. Her last album, I think, came out in 2021. I think it was 2020 or 2021. And I listened to a couple of tracks off of it, and I did like what I heard. I definitely need to check out more of her music, though. There is another album having a big 50th anniversary release this week. This is Elton John, Honky, Chateau, released back in 1972, so it's actually the 51st anniversary this year. But it's a double LP. It's his 5th studio album. It's going to run you about $38 online, which is, the second disc is all outtakes. So that's kind of cool. I do like that they're including that. And I've seen a lot of these, anniversary releases with a second disc of outtakes, run, $45+ over the last couple of years. So it's nice to see that this release is still under $40. But this was his first of 7 consecutive #1 albums. Honky Cat and Rocket Man were the 2 big releases of this album. It's a fantastic album. It's one of my favorite Elton John albums. You also have the reissue of Nsync's debut album coming out this week. First released back in 1998. It's celebrating its 25th anniversary. It's going to run you $23 online. It's on black vinyl, so there's nothing really special about this release. I think this is kind of the same release that I think Urban Outfitters did an exclusive several years back now. But I'm sure it's long out of print now. But if you're a boy band fan, it's worth checking out, I guess. I was never a big Nsync fan at all. I thought No Strings Attached, I think, was a pretty decent album, but my wife was a big fan back in the day, so I listened to all this stuff, all these albums multiple times, unfortunately. But for $23, I don't think it's a bad release. There's a big music on vinyl release coming out this week. This is Hanoi Rock's Two Steps from the Move. First released back in 1984. It's their 5th studio album. It's on translucent red vinyl. These music on vinyl records are kind of creeping up in price. It's going to run you about $45 online. This is limited to 2,000 numbered copies. I didn't realize this album was actually produced by Bob Ezrin. I don't know if Bob Ezrin worked with Hanoi Rocks on any of their other albums, but Bob Ezrin did a bunch of great stuff over the years. A great producer, and that especially in like the late half of the 70s through the 80s, man, he did a bunch of great stuff. Then you've also got Cheap Trick, Authorized Greatest Hits coming out. This was first released back in 2000. It's a double LP. It's going to run $26. This was just a Walmart exclusive release within the last several months also. I think it was on clear vinyl, though. This is just on standard black, if that really matters to you. It's got 16 tracks on it. It's, great hits from across Cheap Trick's career. And the cool thing is about this release is this, unlike a lot of other greatest hits albums or compilations, where the studio or the label puts the album together, all these tracks were all picked by the band. So there is some kind of deeper cuts on here that you might not have gotten on a more kind of traditional greatest hits album. So the last 12 on the list are all Bob Marley releases, and these are all pressed at Tough Gong in Jamaica. They're all numbered. They're all limited edition. I'm sure that these are going to sound fantastic. I'd love to see how these actually compare to those half-speed mastered versions that came out, was it a year or two back when those came out? But all of them are pretty decently priced. They're all under $30. The first one is Catch a Fire. It was released back in 73. It's actually celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. It's his 5th studio album. The thing is with Catch a Fire, I wish they would have redone the original jacket for this album. So when it first came out back in 73, I think it was like the first 500 copies, actually had like this flip open Zippo design jacket, which I thought was really kind of cool. It goes for a bunch of money. It's really kind of hard to find. It's definitely a collector's piece now. So it would have been kind of cool to see them pay homage to that original release by doing it that way. But Stir It Up and Slave Driver are two of my favorite tracks on this album. It is a great album. The second one, you got Burnin, also released back in 73. It's a 6th studio album. It's only $26 online. Get Up, Stand Up, and I Shot the Sheriff for like the two huge tracks off of this one. Next up, you got Natty Dread. This was released back in 74. It was a 7th studio album. It's going to run $26 online. I've long thought this was one of Bob's best albums. This is actually his first album without Peter Tosh. And it's a great album from beginning to end. I think Rolling Stone had it like 181st on their list of top 500 albums. But No Women, No Cry, Lively Up Yourself, those are both two of my favorite tracks on there. Like I said, it is a really great album, one of his best. You've also got Rastaman Vibrations coming out, released back in 76, his 8th studio album. It's running $26 online also. This is Bob's first top 10 album here in the United States. It does have a couple of huge tracks on here. Roots rock reggae. I don't know why that one's hard to say. And War are definitely two of my favorites on there, though. The next two releases are albums that are definitely kind of a different kind of Bob Marley album. They're definitely a little more laid back. It's got a different vibe overall to the album. This is Exodus, which actually Exodus was also a UHQR release last year, or maybe it was being a part of this year. But anyway, within the last year it was a UHQR release. But this came out back in 77. It's his 9th studio album. This is another one. It's one of my favorite Bob Marley albums. This was a year after, or shortly after, I think it was like December of the year before, there was an assassination attempt on Bob Marley's life. And Bob Marley was exiled to London, where kind of Exodus was that's where the kind of the idea of the album came from. And, I think it really kind of, the circumstances around that and that whole period in his life, I think really kind of led to kind of a change in tone musically for Bob and the Wailers. It is a fantastic album if you haven't listened to it in a long time. Exodus, Jammin', Waiting in Vain, they're all great tracks, some of my favorite ones on this album. But also has Three Little Birds, One Love. Like the whole second half of this album is just jam after jam. It is a really good album. $26 online. It's not a bad price. You've also got Kaya, which is the next album. Still has that kind of subdued, kind of laid back vibe to it. Also is going to run you about $26. This was released a year later in 78. It was his 10th studio album. And Is This Love and Satisfy My Soul were the two. I guess neither one of those were like huge tracks or huge hits. But he definitely had some moderate success with both of them. And they're both fantastic tracks. I think is kind of a little bit of an underrated album. So by 79, Bob Marley had a whole bunch of criticism thrown his way for the laid-back tone of the previous two albums. So when he released Survival, which came out in 79, it was his 11th studio album, there's definitely a different sound to this album. It's definitely kind of, I would say, more of a traditional Bob Marley album. It definitely like a return to that older sound. It's going to be about $30 online. So Much Trouble in the World, Africa Unite, and One Drop. I think the three big tracks off of here. I'm not a huge fan of this album, but I think those three tracks definitely make it worth owning. And then the next one is probably one of my favorite Bob Marley albums, Uprising. Released in 1980, it was his 12th studio album. It's only $26 online. This is the last album to be released during Bob Marley's life, and it is a really good album. It ends with my favorite Bob Marley track, Redemption Song. There's also You Could Be Loved is another good one on there, and Real Situation is another one worth checking out. So 2 years after Bob's death, in 1983, his widow Rita put together a compilation and released it as the 13th and final studio album from Bob Marley. This is Confrontation. It's going to be $30 online. This is, I think, the best tracks on here. Trench Town, Buffalo Soldier are two of my favorite tracks on there. These are all like B-sides and some rework stuff that they put together for this compilation. You've also got Bob Marley Live being released back in 75. It's going to be $26 online. These were recorded over two shows in July of 75 in London. And the one big track on here, No Woman, No Cry, is the track that you hear on Legend. It's the one version of No Woman, No Cry that everybody knows. The next one's actually a Bob Marley album I've never heard before, even though I'm familiar with the cover art. I know what the album looks like. I've just never actually sat down and listened to it. This is Babylon by Bus, released back in 78. It's a double LP, and I think it's the only double LP of the series here. This is the most expensive one also. It's going to run you $48. So I guess I was wrong when I said they were all $30 and under. But these are recorded over 3 nights in June of 78 in Paris. So like I said, I really need to go back and check out, but for $48, I think it's kind of pricey when you've got other great live stuff from Bob Marley that's available out there. And then last but not least, you got Bob Marley Legend. This was released in 1984, so 3 years after Bob's death. This is going to run you $30. This is a huge album. It sold over 25 million copies worldwide. And the crazy thing I didn't know until just within the last couple of days is this is actually second place for the most non-consecutive weeks on the Billboard 200. So this spent 773 non-consecutive weeks. Of course, number one is Dark Side of the Moon, which also is getting reissued this week, which has Dark Side of the Moon's been on there 974 non-consecutive weeks. So just both of those are just huge releases. Well, that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Like I said, a whole bunch of stuff coming out this week that I went over, especially all 12 of those Bob Marley releases. There's definitely a couple of them I am going to pick up. I think really the only thing I've got on vinyl, I think I can think off the top of my head, is just Legend. I think is the only album of his I have. So there's a couple of them I definitely need to grab. But drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to picking up. Because like I said, I only talked about 20 of the 450 albums that are coming out this week. There's a bunch of great stuff. But let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.